they need to be held accountable for what they've done.
Ogden police need your help finding the driver that hit a school crossing guard and left her laying here in the street.
She had a little bit she could tell us, but she couldn't remember much.
Coming up, hear from other crossing guards on why they say this isn't a surprise.
Saving the Great Salt Lake one tree at a time. How thinning our forests could help raise water levels.
Right now, tracking increasing clouds here into Utah. What to expect into the overnight hours with our next storm moving in. If you'll see any travel impacts in the forecast.
If we could work together the last Congress, there's no reason we can't work together and find consensus on important things in this Congress as well.
President Biden delivers his second State of the Union address to the nation. I'm Caroline Shively in Capitol Hill. I'll have details of his speech coming up.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
An Ogden School District crossing guard right now in the hospital tonight.
She was hit by a car this morning while getting the crosswalk ready for the school day. Police tell Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser they need the community's help finding the driver who left her injured in the road at Harrop Street and Monroe Boulevard.
Every morning, school crossing guards put on reflective gear that's similar to this and go out to put cones in the crosswalk. That's exactly what a woman was doing here at 7 a.m. when a vehicle hit her and didn't stay behind to help. For 13 years running on every school day, Rusty Underwood wears neon from head to toe.
And that's why I do it, to be seen. And some of them come through here like it's the freeway. They don't touch a brake.
But Tuesday morning, he had to take the day off.
I called my boss and I said, so my substitute got hit this morning? He said, yes, we're trying to find out all about it. We can.
Ogden police say a female crossing guard was setting up at Harrop Street and Monroe Boulevard when a southbound car struck her and left her there.
She had a little bit she could tell us, but she couldn't remember much. So after she fell on the ground, she hit her head pretty hard.
Lieutenant Cameron Stiver says she's in the hospital in stable condition.
They need to be held accountable for what they've done.
Pedro Hernandez used to be a crossing guard here, but quit after too many close calls.
No, I like my job. I used to like my job, but not the risk.
Both men say something needs to change.
Pay attention. Not just the fact of the crossing guards, children's lives are in order.
Ogden police say they have no leads right now tracking down that driver who hit the crossing guard. If you know anything or have any videos, call the Ogden Police Traffic Bureau. Their number is 801-629-8285. Reporting near Bonneville Elementary, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
A man in his 20s is hospitalized tonight with a partial severed arm after an accident involving farm machinery on the old monastery property just east of Huntsville. Weber County Fire Department says the man was clearing debris when his sweater sleeve got caught in an auger blade, which sucked his arm in. The man's condition is not known, and it is unclear if his arm can be saved.
New tonight, crews in Pleasant View were busy responding to 2 car crashes into buildings. The first was into a business near 11th West and 27th North. The other was into a home near the 2400 block of Highway 89. Remarkably, there were no significant injuries in either crash. There was no major structural damage to the business. The home, however, took a major hit, and damage has been determined to be severe enough to make the home unlivable. From cloud seeding to a Pacific Ocean pipeline, many possible solutions to save the Great Salt Lake are on the table right now.
Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree shows us why removing trees could be helping or hurting our watershed.
It's not really a political issue. It's an issue about our public health, our well-being, our economic well-being.
Over the past couple of years, the U.S. Forest Service has been doing strategic forest thinning in Lambs and Parley's canyons.
If a catastrophic fire goes through our watersheds, as we've seen all over the West, we'll have increased runoff, sediment flows, all sorts of things that will degrade the water quality that we have coming out of the canyons.
District Ranger Becky Hotsey told Salt Lake County Council members Wednesday about the millions of federal dollars going towards Salt Lake's watershed all across the Wasatch.
And we're going to be doing surveys in Big Cottonwood Canyon so that we can soon start doing fuels projects in Big Cottonwood Canyon, so you should be seeing that in a couple of years.
The Forest Service hopes that cutting down trees will mean more water runoff, but some scientists don't believe this is the full solution to helping the Great Salt Lake's levels rise.
The trees aren't just straws that are consuming water, they also are shading the ground, so they're reducing the amount of sunlight that's hitting the snowpack, so that can extend the length of time that we have snow on the ground.
BYU professor Ben Abbott says removing trees might reduce our water quantity, but still, he doesn't think cloud seeding, making islands, or piping in Pacific Ocean water are the right solutions.
Water augmentation proposals, they always have trade-offs and they're very expensive. Water conservation is fast, low cost, and much more resilient.
He says Utah needs more funding for agricultural efficiency and better monitoring of water use.
We're going to be the pioneers, and nature doesn't negotiate. So we either solve this problem or we're going to suffer the consequences of losing the way.
In Salt Lake County, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Conservation groups say the best thing you can do to help the Great Salt Lake right now is reach out to your elected officials. And when the snow melts after the winter, let your lawn go dormant to save water.
Fox 13 News is part of the Great Salt Lake Collaborative. That's a group of local news outlets, academic groups, as well as community organizations, all calling attention to the Great Salt Lake and solutions to save it. You can find out more by visiting the link on your screen.
Well, we've all had a rest from snow shoveling for the last day or so. Time for another storm. Allison, what do you have on tap?
I liked soaking up the sun today, Allison. That was fine by me.
Well, we head into tomorrow, and we likely don't see too many big impacts for us here along the Wasatch Front out of our next storm. But we've got temperatures right now feeling like they're in the 20s for the Wasatch Front. We have some increasing clouds moving into western Utah right now. So through the evening, we're going to keep our temperatures right around 30 degrees. With the clouds increasing tonight, our temperatures will basically have a blanket over us, trapping some of that heat at the surface. So we'll keep our overnight temperatures pretty decent compared to where we are right now with the additional cloud cover moving in. But then that will be moving out by about 7 a.m. So we could drop into the low 20s for Utah County tomorrow morning. We're heading into Tooele, 27 degrees, 21 for Logan tomorrow morning. So as we're looking at our overnight temps, mid to low 20s for Salt Lake, Ogden, and Provo, with your main weather headlines being this. We've got a weak storm tomorrow primarily, but we do have the potential for some snow squalls to develop, where we could see that and when. Plus, what's our air quality looking like? We'll talk about all of that coming up in your Super 7-day forecast.
See you then, Allison. Thank you. In national news tonight, President Biden updated the nation during his second State of the Union address earlier this evening.
A lot of topics were brought up as the president made his case for why the country is doing better under his leadership. Fox News correspondent Caroline Shively has more from Washington.
Millions of Americans tuned in as President Joe Biden laid out his agenda for the coming year in his address to the nation. President Biden taking a victory lap at his State of the Union address Tuesday night.
Today, though bruised, our democracy remains unbowed and unbroken.
The president clearly proud of the economy's bounce back from the pandemic, highlighting strong job numbers and an unemployment rate of 3.4%, the lowest since 1969.
Jobs are coming back. Pride is coming back because choices we made in the last several years.
Facing a divided Congress for the first time in his term, he said he'd work with Republicans to find common ground on issues like supporting veterans, improving mental health, and fighting the nation's opioid epidemic.
If we could work together the last Congress, there's no reason we can't work together and find consensus on important things in this Congress as well.
With Tyree Nichols' family looking on, President Biden also renewed calls for bipartisan support of gun and police reform bills.
But what happened to Tyree in Memphis happens too often. We have to do better.
And also sought to reassure Americans worried about the ongoing war with Ukraine and growing tensions with China.
As we made clear last week, if China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country, and we did.
Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, in a fiery response to the speech, said the president just doesn't get it.
From out-of-control inflation and violent crime to the dangerous border crisis and threat from China, Biden and the Democrats have failed you.
President Biden is expected to continue touting his successes on Wednesday during a trip to Wisconsin. On Capitol Hill, Caroline Shively, Fox 13 News, Utah.
In a tense exchange before the State of the Union address, Utah Senator Mitt Romney told GOP Representative George Santos, quote, "You don't belong here."
He told CNN that he saw Santos in the aisle trying to shake hands with President Joe Biden. Romney felt like he, quote, should be sitting in the back row and staying quiet amid the controversy surrounding Santos. Santos has been caught repeatedly lying and faces multiple investigations over his finances.
New insight tonight about the murder of a family in southern Utah last month. What Michael Haight searched for online before he killed his family.
It'll change the landscape for survivors and getting access to services.
And in the wake of so many domestic violence tragedies here in Utah, the message for Utah's lawmakers today.
Former Utah quarterback Brian Johnson has a chance to win a Super Bowl title this Sunday with the Eagles. He'll tell us what his favorite thing about coaching is.
The Turkish community in Utah rallies tonight. What they're doing to help after the devastating earthquake in their homeland.
In world news, more than 7,000 people are now confirmed dead after earthquakes in Turkey and Syria. The first quake hit Sunday night, followed by dozens of aftershocks. Crews are still searching for survivors. Experts believe tall, poorly constructed apartments in the region were a factor in the overall devastation. And although the Turkish community here in Utah is only about 500 to 1,000 people, right now they are working to do what they can do to help their country in its great time of need.
We spoke with the Utah Turkish American Association about how they're raising funds and items to send back to Turkey. They told us Turkish Airlines is offering to fly cargo to Turkey from all of the Turkish American associations around the United States free of charge. They say the best way to help right now is through monetary donations.
Anything helps. Today, even $10 buys a blanket.
It's extremely sad, and we're trying to figure out what else we can do, other ways that we can find to help.
The Utah Turkish American Association says they are mainly working through the Bridge to Turkey Fund when it comes to donations. If you would like to help rescue and rebuild Turkey, we have a link on our website, fox13now.com.
Today, we got a first look at the military's effort to recover a Chinese surveillance balloon after it was shot down near Myrtle Beach, South Carolina over the weekend. Take a look at these pictures. The Pentagon now says that balloon was 200 feet tall. Most of it has been recovered, but crews, they are still trying to find the heavy equipment from under the balloon, which likely sank down to the ocean floor.
Zoom says it will lay off 1,300 workers. The CEO said today he will take a pay cut as well. The video conference software became an essential download during the pandemic, but its stock fell in 2022. Leaders say the company did not manage its growth responsibly.
Have you heard this? Tiger Woods is setting up shop in Park City. The Marcella Club announced today the legendary golfer will design a new 18-hole course at their Park City resort on the west side of Jordanelle State Park. The club says the course will be integrated into the natural landscape. This will be the first course created by Woods Company, TGR Design, in the entire Mountain West.
Coming to the end of the third quarter. LeBron James, a shot at history.
Wow, he did it.
That's right. With that, LeBron James has officially made basketball history. About 20 minutes ago, the Los Angeles Lakers star became the NBA's all-time leading scorer, breaking the record held by former Laker Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who you saw just a second ago. Kareem scored 38,387 points in his 20-year career, but James broke that record in tonight's game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and there is thunder in that stadium tonight.
Quite the accomplishment.
Wow.
Hey, Allison.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well, another wow moment here. This picture coming in our Facebook group, Utah's Weather Authority, from a very talented viewer, Trent. Just absolutely majestic in the Ochre Mountains today. As we're looking at temperatures into tomorrow, not quite majestic, pretty much the opposite of that. I think a lot of you will be struggling tomorrow, especially if you're one of our viewers up in Wyoming. You're going to have a lot of wind tomorrow and cool temps. So at 8 o'clock in the morning, Evanston feels like 6, Uinta Basin feels like 3, Park City feels like 7 tomorrow morning, Alta 3 below. Wasatch Front about 15 to 25 for what it feels like. And then for central and southern Utah, we'll have below 0 for Bryce Canyon, single digits for Beaver, and St. George tomorrow morning, about freezing when you wake up for the feels like temp. Then throughout the day tomorrow, it's going to feel cooler than it did today because we'll have some more wind, and we also have temperatures that are going to be a little bit cooler. So our storm from over the weekend is off to our southeast, but I want to talk about our weak storm that's moving in tomorrow. Primarily a weak storm, but I want to alert you there is the chance for some snow squalls to develop in northeast Utah. This does include the Cache Valley, and this also does include southwest Wyoming travel along I-80, and this does include northern Duchesne and Uinta counties. So up into the Uintas, we've got a low likelihood of these developing, but a chance from noon to 5 p.m. tomorrow. And a snow squall, it's a relatively new category from the National Weather Service, and if you're ever in an area where a snow squall warning gets issued, you'll never want to try to drive through that. You'll want to get to a safe place as soon as possible. Make sure your lights are on and that you are just staying safe because it's very, very short-lived and very intense snowfall. We're also going to have some more snow possible early next week, but for the Wasatch Front, not expecting to see too heavy of snowfall out of tomorrow's storm, but we could see some areas of light snow with St. George keeping things dry through this week, and then into next week, you've got some more chances for some rain to develop. So how much snow are we expecting with our storm tomorrow? Breezy conditions plus 1 to 3 inches where we're going to see snowfall, which is mainly for the mountains of northern Utah, and for Salt Lake, it could get another dusting. For St. George, near 60 degrees tomorrow, 54 on Thursday, 60 this weekend just about for the Wasatch Front, 37 tomorrow, 33 on Thursday, low 40s Friday and Saturday. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
A newly released affidavit reveals disturbing new details about what Michael Haight searched for online before killing his family in a murder-suicide in Enoch. Police say Haight shot his wife Tasha, their 5 minor children, his mother-in-law, and then himself inside their Enoch home on January 4th.
Investigators searched multiple devices in the home and at his Cedar City office, looking for evidence of domestic violence and premeditated murder. The affidavit indicates Michael Haight made the following Google searches on his phone. How loud is a 9mm? How loud is a 40mm? Can you hear a gunshot in a house? And can neighbors hear gunshots? The affidavit also says investigators found in his office a printout of an article entitled How to Cope with Petty People. Other police records obtained last month showed Haight had previously been investigated for child abuse, although he was never charged.
The law firm representing Gabby Petito's family in a lawsuit against the Moab Police Department released this photo today. They say that she took it just before officers stopped her and her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie. There's the photo. The attorneys say it shows the aftermath of Laundrie grabbing her face and suffocating her. The lawsuit says Petito showed the injury to one of the officers, but he ignored her. The suit also argues the photo proves Petito was not the aggressor in the incident, contrary to what Moab police determined. Laundrie strangled Petito to death a couple of weeks after that. He later died by suicide. The Petito family's lawsuit argues if Moab police had handled the situation differently, she would still be alive. The city of Moab denies any responsibility. Today, domestic violence victim advocates took center stage at the Utah State Capitol.
Speakers say Governor Cox's proposed $50 million for domestic homicide prevention and victim support is critical. Several domestic violence-related bills were discussed, including SB 117. It would require law enforcement to conduct lethality assessments, asking questions about violence or past threats. It would also connect victims with shelter services and support, which experts say would save lives.
We have resources available for that, but sometimes are missed in the course of accessing law enforcement. And so by adding this step of calling and connecting with providers, what we see is a different outcome for that individual. We see increased safety and reduction in homicide.
Campbell feels increased momentum on the issue this year and urged supporters to keep working to get the legislation passed. If you or a loved one is experiencing domestic violence, help is always available. The Utah Domestic Violence Coalition runs a 24/7 hotline. The number is 801-897-LINK, 1-800-897-5465, or you can go to udvc.org.
Coming up, the mayor of St. George addressed what lies ahead for the city, the big topics covered in her State of the City address.
And have you ever wanted to talk to an astronaut in outer space? Some Cache Valley students got to do just that today.
Well, coming up in sports, we'll hear from an American fork runner, Daniel Simmons, after he won a national award. We'll also hear from former Utah quarterback Brian Johnson, trying to win a Super Bowl this week as the QB coach of the Philadelphia Eagles.
St. George Mayor Michelle Randall delivered her annual State of the City address this afternoon at the Dixie Convention Center. Among the topics were how to grow the city's appeal for tourists, public safety, ever-growing infrastructure, and water conservation.
So we made great strides recently. In the past 2 years, our Parks Division has removed more than 60,000 square feet of grass, which according to the Water Conservancy District is like taking an 18-inch strip and rolling it from City Hall down past the Arizona border.
The Dixie Convention Center was also the site of this year's Dixie Regional Transportation Expo.
Astronomy students from Ridgeline and Skyview High School in Cache County, they got to talk to an astronaut on the International Space Station this morning. Students all gathered in the Ridgeline High School library to talk to NASA astronaut Josh Cassata for about 10 minutes via amateur radio.
It's a great way for them to see how real science works. So they have the opportunity to see how electromagnetic waves work, how radio waves work, and give them an opportunity to use those skills to talk to a real live scientist on the International Space Station.
Talk about a long distance phone call there. Some students got to ask Cassata about the Artemis program and its upcoming missions, as well as about what he thought the most beautiful view from space was.
Former Utah quarterback Brian Johnson has a chance to win a Super Bowl ring this Sunday as the quarterback's coach for the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 57. After leading the Utes to an undefeated season in 2008, after the Sugar Bowl win, he's been coaching for the last 13 years, starting at Utah, now in the NFL with the Eagles. Said one of the things he enjoys most about coaching is the relationships he's built over the years.
Coaches have so much responsibility, and they have a chance to create such an impact on those relationships. You know, I look back to my relationship even with Coach Whittingham at University of Utah, or Dan Mullen, you know, just guys that I've known for a really long time that I respect and that I've learned so much, not only about football, but about life because of them and the lessons that they've kind of helped me carry on into my adult life. So, you know, really, really passionate about coaching and having an impact and doing everything I can to make sure that experience is something that's memorable.
We will hear much more from Brian this Sunday after the Super Bowl on his amazing history with Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts. Daniel Simmons of American Fork High School is the 2022-23 Gatorade National Boys Cross Country Player of the Year. He was surprised with the trophy by his family and friends and teammates today. The American Fork junior broke course records in his final 6 races last fall, winning the 6A individual state championship while leading the American Fork team to the team title. He wants everyone out there to know that if you truly commit to something, anything is possible.
Seeing all the people that I love and all my friends and family, it was so much. I just went through the tape thingy and I was speechless. I was just in shock. I was like, this is unbelievable. Like today, wow, this is amazing. Every second you put in on working hard, it'll come back. That's how things work. When you put energy into stuff, it tends to grow.
Well, the Jazz suffered a disappointing loss last night against the Dallas Mavericks without Luka Doncic and 2 other key players who were traded away. Will Hardy was not happy after the game.
You know, this is the first game all season where I've just been, I feel disappointed in our focus. There's always nights where the bounces don't go your way, you don't make shots, the other team plays great, and there's a little bit of that in tonight's game, but I felt like collectively we just did not have the necessary focus and attention to the little things.
The Jazz host Rudy Gobert and the Timberwolves tomorrow night. We'll be right back.
Thanks for being part of Fox 13 News at 9.
And for staying up late with us. Modern Family is next.